This is the key for the review. For this first problem, you would add 3x to both sides. Add 13 to both sides. 12x equals 24. When you divide by 12, x equals 2. For the second example, you would want to start by distributing to eliminate these parentheses. You get 4a minus 5a minus 10 equals 6a minus 9 minus 15. Then you could combine like terms, so I can combine 4a minus 5a. I can combine negative 9 minus 15. That gives me negative a minus 10 equals 6a minus 24. Can add a to both sides. So I have negative 10 equals 7a minus 24. Add 24 to both sides. And I get 14 equals 7a. And when you divide, a equals 2. For example 3, I would subtract 5 from both sides. 4p equals 4. If you divide both sides by 4, p equals 1. For example 4, we would distribute. So I get 2x minus 2 plus 3 equals x minus 3x minus 3. Combine like terms, so negative 2 plus 3. And then on the other side of the equal sign, x minus 3x. So I have 2x plus 1 equals negative 2x minus 3. I'm going to add 2x to both sides. And then I get 4x plus 1 equals negative 3. Subtract 1 from both sides. I get 4x equals negative 4. And when I divide, x equals negative 1. For number 5, this is technically a negative 1, so I want to distribute the negative 1, and same thing on the other side of the equal sign. So I have 2 minus 4x minus 1 equals 3 minus 2x plus 1. I want to combine like terms, so I can combine 2 minus 1 and 3 plus 1. So 2 minus 1 is 1 minus 4x, and then that equals 4 minus 2x. I'm going to add 4x to both sides, and I get 1 equals 4 plus 2x, and then I would subtract 4 from both sides, and I would get negative 3 equals 2x, and dividing by 2, x equals negative 3/2. For this next problem, same thing, I'm going to start by distributing. So I get 2a minus 9a minus 54 equals 6a plus 18 minus 4a. Combine your like terms. So I have 2a minus 9a, and I have 6a minus 4a. So I get negative 7a minus 54 equals 2a plus 18. I'm going to subtract 2a from both sides. So negative 9a minus 54 equals 18. Add 54 to both sides. Negative 9a equals 72. And when you divide, you should get negative 8. For 7 and 8, you have both parentheses and brackets, and so basically it's just parentheses nested inside each other. So you want to start with the innermost parentheses. So I'm going to start here. I can do this one as well, and then I'm also going to start here. So I'm just going to start with that distributing first, and I'm just going to carry everything else down. And so once I do that first distributing, I end up here. And then I want to do my distributing to get rid of the brackets. And so just remember there's technically a -1 here. So you want to distribute that negative all the way through the bracket, and the same thing happens right here. And so once I do that, I end up with 25 minus 2 minus 5y plus 3y plus 6 equals -6y plus 15 minus 5y plus 5 plus 3y minus 3. And then you're just going through and combining your like terms. So I have 25 minus 2 plus 6, which is 29. I also have -5y plus 3y, so that's -2y. And then equals on this other side, -6y minus 5y plus 3y, so that's -8y. And then lastly, 15 plus 5 minus 3, which is plus 17. To finish this off, we could add 8y to both sides. So I have 29 plus 6y equals 17. Subtract 29 from both sides. And I get 6y equals -12. Divide both sides by 6. Y equals -2. Number 8 is really similar, so you want to start by distributing all of the very interior parentheses. And so when I do that, I get 46 minus the bracket 7 minus 8y plus 54y minus 18 equals -28y plus 49 minus 2 bracket 12y minus 18 minus 4 plus 6y. Then you would want to go through and distribute into your brackets. So I'm going to start with this negative. So this is really -1, distribute to all of these, and then a -2, distributing to all of these. So I have 46 minus 7 plus 8y minus 54y plus 18 equals -28y plus 49 minus 24y plus 36 plus 8 minus 12y. Then I want to combine like terms. So I have 46 minus 7 plus 18, which is 57. Then I have 8y minus 54y, which is -46y, equals, then I need to combine -28y minus 24y minus 12y, which is -64y. And then lastly, 49 plus 36 plus 8, which is 93. I can subtract 57 from both sides. So I have -46y equals -64y plus 36. Add 64y to both sides, which is 18y equals 36, and then when you divide, y equals 2. On the second page of the review, you're working on clearing out fractions by finding the least common denominator. So for this first one, if I want to find the least common denominator, remember you are listing out the prime factors of the denominators. So for example, the factors of this first one would be x, and then the factors of my second denominator would be 3 times x. So you want to list out the entire first denominator, so that would just be x. And then since I've already written down x, I don't need to write this one again, but I do need to write down this. and so my least common denominator is going to be 3x. And then once I have that least common denominator, I'm going through and multiplying every single term by 3x. So if I write this out, I'm going to have, I'm not going to combine them. I'm just going to leave it as 6 times 3x over x. The next one I am going to multiply. Negative 3 times 3x is negative 9x. And then again, for this last one, I'm not going to combine, just so you can see things canceling out. So then you go through and you cancel out anything you can. So here the x's cancel. Nothing cancels in the second term. And here the 3x cancels. So what I end up with is 6 times 3, which is 18, minus 9x equals 2. And then you're just solving. So I subtract 18 from both sides. Negative 9x equals negative 16. Divide by negative 9. And so x equals 16 over 9, and that ends up being 1.7 repeating. So the same process for number 10, you first need to figure out the LCD. So you look, the first denominator is 6 and the second is 4. So written in prime factors, 6 is 2 times 3 and 4 is 2 times 2. So when I list out the LCD, I have to list the entire first denominator. So I'm going to list out this 2 times 3. I've already written down a 2, so I don't need to include that one again, but I do need to include this 2. And so when I multiply those together, 2 times 3 times 2 is 12, which is my LCD. So I want to go through and multiply every single thing by 12. So this time, I'm actually going to do the multiplying. 5 times 12 is 60, so I have 60 over 6y equals 6 times 12, which is 72, plus 3 times 12 is 36 over 4y. And then you can go through and simplify. And if you're choosing the correct LCD, your fractions should clear out every time. So for example, 60 divided by 6 is 10. And then I have 72, and 36 divided by 4 is 9. And so if your fractions are not clearing out and disappearing, your LCD is incorrect, so you would want to take a look at that. Subtract 9 from both sides, and y equals 72. 11 and 12 are the same process. So for 11, I have 2 different denominators. They're already factored as much as possible, and so my LCD, I'm just going to have to include both of them fully. And so what that looks like is 2x plus 1 and then x minus 5. So that's my LCD. So then just like before, I need to go through and multiply everything by the LCD. I'm going to write mine below since I don't have a lot of room. So I would basically have 2 times 2x plus 1 and then x minus 5 equals 2 times 2x plus 1 times x minus 5. And what that does is it causes these to cancel out. So these 2x plus 1s cancel. Oops, I miswrote something, so let me just fix that really quickly. This is supposed to say, oops, x minus 5, and then those would cancel out. Sorry about that. So then left over, I have 2 times x minus 5 equals 2 times 2x plus 1. You would distribute, so 2x minus 10 equals 4x plus 2. Add 10 to both sides. 2x equals 4x plus 12. Subtract 4x from both sides. Negative 2x equals 12, which means that x has to be negative 6. Same idea for the next one. So I'm going to list out my LCD. So my denominators are 5, 10, and 2. If you list out your prime factors, it's going to look like this. And so you want to list the entire first one, 5. I don't need to write this 5 down because I've already got one here. I'll write down this 2, and then I don't have to write this down because I already wrote down a 2. So my LCD is 10. So I go through and I multiply everything by 10. And I end up with 30x divided by 5 minus 10x equals 10x over 10 minus 50 over 2. And then simplifying, it will be 6x minus 10x equals x minus 25. Again, all the fractions should clear. If they don't, something's wrong. And then combine like terms, so negative 4x equals x minus 25. Subtract x from both sides. Negative 5x equals negative 25. So x is 5. Same idea for the last few. So this one, the LCD, I have 3, I have 2, I have 6. If you can see it without doing the work, that's completely fine. For this one, I would list out again the entire first denominator, which is 3. I have to include this, and then these I've already written down, so my LCD is 6. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to multiply everything by 6. Make sure that these are in parentheses, these binomials up here, just so that you don't mess anything up. So now I have 6 times x minus 3 over 3 minus 6 times x minus 4 over 2. 6 times 1 is 6 plus 6 times x minus 6 over 6. Feel free to cancel out before you distribute. So for example, right here, 6 over 3 is really just 2. And it will just save you some time this way. 6 over 2 is 3. I have a 6, and then 6 over 6 will just cancel. Distribute, so 2x minus 6 minus 3x plus 12 equals 6 plus x minus 6. Combine like terms, so 2x minus 3x is negative x. Negative 6 plus 12 is plus 6. 6 minus 6 is 0, so I'm just going to put an x. Add x to both sides. 6 equals 2x, so x is 3. For this last example with fractions, right here, I need to factor this denominator before I can do anything else. So I'm just going to rewrite 5 over m plus 3 over m minus 2 equals 6, and then I can factor out an m, which would leave me with m minus 2. So this time when I try to list out the LCD, I have to list the entire first denominator and then include anything that's missing. So I have to list the entire second one, and then both parts are covered here, so we're good. So this is going to be my LCD. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to multiply everything by this LCD. And so what that looks like is 5m times m minus 2 over m plus 3m times m minus 2 over m minus 2 equals 6m m minus 2 over m times m minus 2. And then you're looking for what will cancel. So here my m's cancel. Here my m minus 2's cancel. Here the m's and m minus 2's cancel. So you are left with 5 times m minus 2 plus 3m equals 6. Distribute. 5m minus 10 plus 3m equals 6. Combine like terms. Add 10 on both sides. 8m equals 16, so m equals 2. On the third page, we start getting into our story problems. So the first one is about investments. Just a reminder, your investment formula is interest equals principal times rate times time. Anytime they're making two investments, that formula changes slightly so that this is investment 1 and this is investment 2. So just quickly reading through, Tommy has $20,000. He's investing in 2 accounts. One is an 8% rate and one is a 12% rate. And it's asking how much he invested in both so that he ends up making $2,200 in profit, which is our I. So one other thing that you need to think about is if you're investing a certain amount the first time, so like just for example, let's say in your first investment, you invest $5,000. You need to think about how much can I invest in the second one? Well, then my second investment would be the $20,000, so my total, minus the $5,000 that we invested in the first account. Now, we don't know how much we invested, so we're gonna make it a little more generic. So we're gonna call this first investment X, which means that our second investment can only be $20,000 minus X. And so this is going to be our first principal and our second principal. So then I'm just going to start filling things in. So my interest is $2,200, and that equals the first principal, which is X, the first rate, which you always need to express as a decimal, so 8% is really 0.08. It says, it doesn't really say a lot, it just says he's making this much a year, so let's assume that the year, the time is 1. And then plus our second principal, which is 20,000 minus X, times our second rate, which is 0.12, and the time is still 1 year. And then you're just simplifying and solving. So when you simplify, you end up with 2,200 equals 0.08x plus 2,400 minus 0.12x. Then you can start combining like terms. So you get negative 0.04x plus 2,400, subtract from both sides. Negative 200 equals negative 0.04x, and when you divide, you get 5,000. So your initial investment in the account with 8% was 5,000. And then that means that the 12% account was 15,000. Our second example has to do with mixing solutions. And so for your mixing problems, you always have two types of equations. So the first one deals with the total milliliters, gallons, whatever it is. And then the second one deals with all your percentages of your mixing. So we have two solutions. So we are making 100 milliliters total, and they want the solution to be 8%. And so the two types are a 15% solution and a 5% solution. So the first one, I'm going to have X be my 15% and Y be my 5. But the first one always deals with the total milliliters, and so that is going to be X plus Y has to equal 100. The second one has to deal with all your percents. So 0.15x plus 0.05y. And then this is important here. So the last line says how many milliliters of each available solution should be mixed to get 100 milliliters of 8%. So this right here, of in math means multiply. So the second total comes from the multiplication of 100 milliliters times 8%. And we would do 0.08, which ends up being 8. From here, we would write an augmented matrix and type that into Desmos. So it would be 1, 1, 100, 0.15, 0.05, 8. And actually on this test or quiz, you are just going to have to do this part. You're not actually going to be using Desmos. So if you can do this, you would be good. The second part of that would be I might give you a row reduced echelon form matrix and ask you to interpret what it means. So let me show you what I mean by that. So when I actually type this into Desmos, here's the answer it gives me. And so on this quiz, I might give you this and then say, okay, now interpret what these answers mean. And so what you would tell me is, since X was my 15%, you would say, okay, I need 30 milliliters of the 15% solution. And then this part, since my Y was 5%, I need 70 milliliters of the 5% solution. And so again, for the quiz, you're not going to actually have to type it into Desmos. You're going to have to write the equations, give me this augmented matrix written out, and then if I give you an answer, you'll have to tell me what the results mean. So for the next one, we have a pizza example. Personally, I like to draw a picture for this one, so I'm just going to show you how I do it. You're more than welcome to write equations if that works for you. So Jeff, Tom, and Chelsea are ordering a pizza, and they're going to pay for it depending how much they eat. And so since eighths is my smallest amount, I'm going to cut it into eighths. So it says Chelsea eats 1/8, Jeff eats 1/2. So in eighths, that would be 4 slices. So Jeff, 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 Jeff. And then it says Tom pays $5.16. So what that tells me is Tom ate 3 slices. Those 3 cost $5.16. And so if I want to figure out the cost of 1 slice, I would take that $5.16 and divide by 3. And I end up finding out that each slice of pizza is going to be $1.72. And so it's saying, how much did the pizza cost? Well, this is per slice, and there are 8 slices. So if I just take this and multiply by 8, $13.76 for the entire pizza. On our last page, we have a few different types of problems. So the first one's talking about a diet. So it says a 1550 calorie diet per day suggests eating breakfast. Lunch is 100 calories more than breakfast. The 2 snacks are 100 and 150 calories. How many calories are in each meal? So I know I'm eating 2 meals, breakfast and lunch. Breakfast, lunch, and then I'm also eating these 2 snacks, which are 100 and 150. So total for snacks is 250. And all the calories from that can only be 1550. So there's my first equation. The second piece of information they give me that's important is lunch is 100 more than breakfast. So lunch equals breakfast plus 100. Once I get these 2 equations, it's really easiest to just take this and plug it in for L and solve that way. So I have breakfast plus, I'm going to plug this in, B plus 100 plus 250 equals 1550. If I combine these, I get 350. So I have 2B plus 350 equals 1550. Subtract 350 from both sides. 2B equals 1200. And when I divide, breakfast is 600 calories, which means lunch is 100 more than that. It's 700 calories. Problem 19 says find 3 consecutive integers such that the sum of the 3 is equal to 2 times the sum of the first 2 integers. So first I need to figure out how to list out 3 consecutive integers. So remember, consecutive means in a row, like 4, 5, 6, for example. So if I let the first one be x, to get to 5, that'd be x plus 1. To get from 4 to 6, that's x plus 2. So this is how you want to list your 3 consecutive integers. Then you can start reading the problem. So the sum of the 3 is equal to. So the sum of the 3 means add them. So x plus 1 plus x plus 2. The word, and then we have is equal to, so we'll put an equal sign. 2 times the sum of the first 2 integers. So 2 times the sum of the first 2. And then we're just going to solve. So here I have x plus x plus x, that's 3x. 1 plus 2, that's 3. If I distribute, I get 2x plus 2x plus 2. Combine like terms, I get 4x plus 2, and then we can solve. So subtract 3x from both sides, subtract 2, x equals 1. So we need to actually list out the integers. So my first one is 1, the next one is 2, the last one is 3. The very last type of problem is about a boat traveling across a bay. Remember, when you do these, it's important to find the rate. And we know that rate equals distance divided by time. So the boat travels upstream 200 miles and it takes 20 minutes. So we're going to do 200 divided by 20. So we figure out that it's traveling 10 miles per minute. Our downstream trip takes 10 minutes. So we're doing 200 miles divided by 10 minutes. And that's 20 miles per minute. Anytime you do these, it's always your boat plus your current equals an amount, and then your boat minus your current equals an amount. Remember, the addition one, the boat's always going faster, so it would be traveling 20 miles per minute. Versus slower, it's only going 10 miles per minute. Again, you're just typing this into Desmos, so on the quiz it will say, write the augmented matrix. So you would write out 1, 1, 20, 1, negative 1, 10. Then depending on the problem, it might list out the solved matrix. So for example, this one would look like this, and it would say, okay, now interpret these results. And so you would say, since this was B and C, the boat speed is 15 miles per minute, and the current speed is 5 miles per minute. So just make sure you know how to write an augmented matrix and you know how to read the results. If you have any other questions, send me an email.